Hello and welcome to week 6 in research methods. Things are just moving right along here. So here we are. At this point, there's no special assignments left. I'm sorry, that's not true. There's no special assignments for this week related to your research topic, although you will be looking at your primary reference to answer some of the questions here. We're talking about 2 chapters. One is descriptive research, and the other one is sampling. Now, descriptive research is the collection of data and the examination of that data as an end itself. It can be standalone research, simply getting that kind of data and exposing, here's what is, like when you see research related to, let's say, traffic fatalities or the number of births per year in a particular city or something like that. This is data gathering and the presentation of that research simply as descriptive numbers, giving the range, giving standard deviation, the central tendency, mean, median, and mode, presenting, there's this group and then this group. It's just descriptive. How many men, women, other, how many, socioeconomic status of my sample, and stuff like that. It's descriptive. So individuals have an understanding of either a particular trait, let's say the number of traffic fatalities in a month, or they have a particular understanding of your sample, the constitution of your sample based on those particular variables. So when we think about descriptive research as an end itself, we get into Chapter 6 discussion, which is for you to contemplate, are there things about psychology, are there things in psychology where the descriptive pieces itself is enough? That's what we're looking at. And you'll find anything related to human traits and the frequency distribution of certain traits, IQ, personality, all of that is all descriptive statistics. Testing. I'm giving you hints here. Talk about all the different ways, and we're just trying to get a figure of what it is, what's going on, how good are people at it, how smart are people, just kind of. And I would encourage you to just go into Google and write descriptive research in psychology. Maybe even do Google Scholar and just, sample in there to see that there is actually a lot. In fact, descriptive statistics are usually a part of every single study. So when you're going to be doing your study, you're going to include descriptive aspects of the sample. You're going to choose to maybe age, maybe gender, maybe socioeconomic status. You might gather that in amount of years of education, stuff like that. And what that allows, that descriptive data, as it applies to sampling, our next chapter, is important for individuals who are looking at replicating. And some of you confronted that right on. You looked at your research and you saw, for one, they might have had huge sample, and the sample was students at a very large university in the Midwest. Now that demographic data, where they are, the age, the whole piece, that defines a part of the research. In fact, it's a limitation. People include the demographic information about their sample as a limitation of the conclusions of their research. This research concluded X, Y, and Z at the end of the study, but the underlying message is that's how this group did it. And this is the characteristics of that group. And some of these characteristics might have influenced the outcomes of our study. Most of you are actually, the way you're going to be replicating and modifying your study is a different sample. You're going to be looking maybe at the general population or your friends on Facebook or students at KVCC. You might get very different results because it's a different demographic. So the gathering of that information is vital for you to be able to make comparisons to the original study that says, they did this, got these results with that population. I did, almost the same thing, but with a different population, and I got this sample, this result. So understanding that piece. In the assignment for this, what I'm having you do is look at that original study and look at its descriptive statistics. They're going to be early. They're going to be part probably of the sampling method. You're going to see some of that, but certainly part of the results section. You're going to be, look, before you get to the deep statistics, you're going to see descriptives. Then you might see even descriptives of the variables. So if somebody was measuring frustration level or something, they may report out not only the conclusions of the relationships that they're looking for, but they might even point out what was the average frustration level, what was the range, mode, median, all of those things. They might independently take that one variable, and this is the variety, the diversity, and central tendency of that particular variable, and that is descriptive statistics. One more, because this particular, you're going to come across a descriptive statistic. You've already heard about it. Correlations. Correlations are, in essence, descriptive statistics. They simply talk about how variables either move together, up and down, or move opposite, and to what degree they're related to each other. That's simply descriptive. Now, when we find a relationship and we conduct the next level of that particular statistic, when we go into a regression analysis, that's when we switch a descriptive to a predictive relationship or just statistic. But in essence, correlations, even though that might be the end product of a particular study, my dissertation revealed a number of relationships between variables associated with success in online learning. The relationships were strong. That's where it ended. So just simply understanding that things move together was the end of the study. It was a descriptive study. It was not a predictive study, although it's tempting. Even though you have those relationships, the regressions were not done. That's for another study. And so it's important to make that distinction. You're going to be looking at descriptive data, and that includes correlations that may be identified in your research. We then switch to Chapter 7 and understanding the world of sampling. Now, sampling is reaching out and finding individuals to participate in your study, to answer your survey, to come in and do your test, whatever. You're sampling that, and we call it a sample because the idea is that you're not just trying to figure out that particular group. That's a different kind. That's what we would do in a class, for example. When I give a test in my class, the experimental method is not a sample. I am getting everybody in class. I'm getting the whole population of my students in that class. So that research method is not sampling because I want everybody and be able to draw conclusions. Now, if I wanted to understand that as a sample of all psych students in the world, I could interpret it as a sample. It's not a very good sample, not because of the quality of the particular students in it, but it's not representative of every student in the world that's taking psychology. So when we learn about sampling, we're learning about, when I gather people together to do my study, what can I say about generalizing my results to other people who didn't take the study? And it would have to do with the demographics of that particular group. So if I did a study and it was all nurses at KVCC, I am really limited in terms of generalizing those results and making statements about all students, all nurses, all whatever. I'm very limited because the entire sample is very homogeneous. It's very the same. So the degree to which my sampling is random and diverse, I have more and size to the size of the actual sample. I'm more and more representing maybe larger populations that I want to generalize my results to. So you're looking at a quiz where we're looking at different sampling methods, and then how does sampling affect bias? We can, just like I said, if I sampled and got all nurses, then there's a bias built in to the sampling, I'm going to be getting the nursing bias, whatever that is. It's going to affect the results of my study. It's certainly going to affect my ability to generalize or apply those results to other people. So that's the quiz. And the discussion, which I made a note, I went into the class and it's in the course book, but I forgot to include it in the actual course. So I've added that. So Chapter 7 discussion is now available. And right at the end of Chapter 7, I introduce you to a place where you can go and you can participate in current research that's going on the internet. So I want you to go and play subject. I want you to go in there, find an interesting study, something that you find is interesting, and actually participate in the study. These are real studies, so you have to approach them seriously. You're not just going in there to get the assignment done and come back and say you did it. You're going in to be part of the data set that somebody on the other side is going to use to draw conclusions about whatever it is. I want you to experience being a subject because you're going to want to encourage other people to be subjects for your study. So I want you to have that experience, looking at how that whole thing was, and let's bring that into a discussion, share each other's experiences with those. Have fun with this. It's a great opportunity to kind of like see how it lays out when somebody's doing research and trying to answer interesting and important questions. Now, that said, that's our week. The announcement for this week is that I'm going to be away. I'm going to Savannah, Georgia in mere hours from now, and I will be gone all week. Now, I'm leaving it up to you folks to continue the discussions, to, all this, and, probably on the, matter-of-fact questions, you might want to hold off because I'm not going to be really answering those too much. It's not that I haven't fallen off the face of the earth. I'm going to be checking my email if there's any tragedies, and I'll probably send you an email and say, don't worry about it. So this is endurance time. Just get through the week. I hope you have as good a week as I'm going to have. I'm taking a bit of a break from everything, but I will not be completely absent. But just so you know, you won't see me in the discussion boards, and I won't be grading during that time. I do intend on getting some grading in before I leave here to give some people some resolution on some of their papers that they have handed in. I'll get as much of that as I can done. Things are going well. People are on, catching up and getting on track. I know I'm a little behind in the feedback, so I'm going to try and correct that later today. And then you can have the week to get this done. And when I come back the week after, I'll be flying back in on Monday, and Tuesday or something, I'll probably, record one of these again and post that, for my official re-entry into the class. But certainly, you're welcome to dive into the work of next week. It's described in the course timeline. So have a good week. These 2 chapters, descriptive research and sampling, these are pieces, and you want to be thinking at this point too, we're going to be coming up with next week, we're going to get into a rather challenging aspect of this particular course, and that is understanding the relationship between sampling and the power of your statistic. It's confusing for me, so I got a pretty good handle on it. But it's still a challenge this is sort of the prep getting into determining how many people do you need in your sample. When you conduct your research, what's the goal of how many people you're going to have in your sample in order for your statistics to have deeper meaning? How many you actually get is what you're going to get, and you're just going to work with that. When I did my dissertation, I did not technically have enough individuals in my sample. But what that did is the strength of my statistics was reduced in terms of its ability to predict and go further than descriptive statistics. And I had to do a write-up in terms of the limitations of generalizability for my study. It was still a great study, had some great conclusions. You just have to describe what the limitations are when you do that. All that said, that's next week. So this week, you're going to be learning about descriptive statistics and sampling. And then next week, we have the assignment on your sampling plan, which is going to reflect your calculation of how many samples are you hoping to get. for your study to work out well. All right, so I'm going to be offline here. I'm going to do some grading. This will go up. And have a great week. I'm going to be in that national heat wave. So it's like 94 degrees down there. And so we'll see how well I do with that. So take care, and I will see you in about a week. Take care.